What's up guys, Vulkan here, and today we're talking Trove, a free-to-play, voxel-based MMORPG. It's been around the block for a little while, it's gone through some iterations over the years, but before we get into that, today's video is sponsored by GameAgo. As with previously sponsored videos, these videos are only sponsoring coverage of the game, and the opinions in this video are my own. They're not affected by the relationships with the publisher or the developers. If you have any feedback on this process, please feel free to join Discord and send me a message there and we could talk about it. So when I tried Trove for the first time, it was shortly after its release, and I wasn't exactly blown away by the game. It felt fun and interesting for the first few levels and worlds, but after that it really kind of fell off, so I shelved it. Now for those who have not tried this game, here's a little insight as to what it is. Trove is an MMORPG that doesn't focus on story. Instead, it focuses on the combat as you travel across multiple worlds to build your character. The game offers 16 classes to choose between, which is a ton. Each class gets 4 skills and the ability to take a passive trait from another class, like the ability to proc thorns on yourself to deal damage to attackers, granting your attacks a chance to restore health, or your attacks that deal magic damage all of a sudden have an additional dot that goes on to the enemies. So it's kind of cool just to mix those around and see which one works best for you. Myself, I'm personally a huge fan of the Revenant, which is a spear and shield character that sacrifices health in order to deal big damage. And that's the thing I like about it is you're kind of managing your health pool, but at the same time, you're also handing out so much damage that you really don't need to worry about it too much, and all of your basic attacks will generate health, so you're almost this juggernaut that needs to keep killing things in order to restore your health to full, so you can then keep killing things. So if you're somebody who likes frenzy style characters or steamroll style characters, I think the Revenant is a really good pick for you. But I also like the Tomb Raiser, because I love necromancer style classes, and that's exactly what this is. And this patch in particular gave the Tomb Raiser a rework, and it passively collects lost souls now. And then these souls are used to fuel different summons or spells to raise an army, and it feels pretty solid. Overall, you have your basic attack that's like this channeled ability that then deals damage to whoever's caught in it, but at the same time, you're collecting souls pretty frequently, and it allows you to passively summon mini skeletons. So these kind of horde of mini skeletons will be following you around, and then you can consume those skeletons or some of them to then grant yourself a giant Goliath. So basically a big bone golem that'll follow you around as well. So it's kind of cool the way they went through and they did it. And even though Trove is a kind of light-hearted and bright game, there's still some pretty interesting class concepts in here that really kind of caught me off guard. So that is one thing to look for. And if you get started on the game, Tomb Raiser and Revenant are two that I would definitely check out, or at least, hover over to see if there's something that is interesting to you. Overall, the game gives you 35 worlds to explore. Each has their own dungeons, layers, quests, points of interest to find. There's also instance PvP for those of you who want to ruin somebody's day. Then there's also something called clubs, which function like guilds, and these have their own worlds that they can then customize. And that's another big part of the game is you can build things. You have the ability to remove blocks, to add blocks. You can make your club, your guild hall, your world as big as you would like. Then you have your personal house you can customize as well. So there's a lot of customization that can happen in the game in terms of building. Besides that, there are 2 types of progression in this game. One, you have an overarching rank called the Trove rank, which unlocks permanent boosts over time. Then you have class progression, which is just like any other RPG. Each class gets its own set of gear. You can improve this gear over time as you go do content, and then gear will drop. Now, one thing I will say about this is gear drops very frequently. I'm saying this is more like a Diablo style, action RPG style loot system in terms things are dropping all of the time. It's very easy to get loot in this game. And I was honestly kind of caught off guard a little bit by how quickly I climbed the rarity ladder. So I quickly went from common to uncommon to rare to epic to legendary to relic very quickly over the span of probably 6 to 7 worlds. So that's over halfway up the rarity ladder. The next things I have to get are Resplendent, Shadow, Radiant, Stellar, and Crystal. And Crystal is the top end gear. It's aqua color, and that's what drops in Delves that we'll be talking about here in a second. But it was surprising how quickly you're able to get gear and climb those ranks. Once I started getting relics and legendaries though, that's when things really started to slow down. I haven't seen a resplendent yet, but now my character is all outfitted in legendaries and relics. So it feels good. You're constantly getting gear, you're constantly improving, and I really haven't hit too much of a wall yet in terms of gear. And each class, like I said, gets its own set, so you need to be able to hang on to stuff. If you haven't started that character yet, you want to be able to equip those things. You don't have to go out and farm it all over again. So one of the big draws for Trove for lots of people is the user-generated content as well. And this game features tons of things created by the community. I mean, even down to the loading screens. The loading screens are fan art for the game. And I'm talking dungeons, character skins, styles, weapons, armor, gear, anything and everything, mounts. It's all created by the community on some level or another. And it's also super mod friendly. You can change anything and everything about the game using mods. These mods can change mounts, hotbars, windows, user interface stuff, gear, skins, anything and everything to fit your style, to make the character look how you want them to look. See, the thing with Trove, we've gone through all this stuff. The biggest thing is this is a good introduction to a few genres. It's a game that you can show some of your friends that haven't played an MMO, they haven't played an action RPG, and this will teach them some of the basics. Reading gear for stats, slotting in gems, upgrading gems, leveraging various progression systems to strengthen your character. Now, it's not an overly complex game, right? So don't expect anything like a, Final Fantasy XIV or a Guild Wars 2 or even a World of Warcraft style of character development, but it is a great stepping stone to get started, and it's free, which is the biggest thing, right? So it's no risk, and you can install it. If you don't like it, you can always uninstall it. If you do like it, great, keep playing, fantastic. So kind of looping back to the beginning when we first started this, I said that I had played the game and it wasn't really for me and I shelved it. Well, a recent blog post that kind of talked about the next big update for Trove helped solve one of the biggest problems I had with the game originally, and that was endgame. And this update promises a new endgame activity called Delves, which brings endless dungeon content to the game along with new bosses, sets of crystal gear, and it has a quote like race against the clock system built within it. The thing with Delves, they're fairly straightforward in terms of mechanics. You're given objectives to complete in order to spawn a boss that you need to defeat before the timer runs out. If you're able to do that, congratulations, you get to dive deeper into the delve. You get to face more difficult enemies and get better rewards. If you fail to complete the objective or to kill the boss, then you start over at your current depth. Think of it like a checkpoint. And every time you're able to kill a boss, you earn a checkpoint for that depth, allowing you to stop and then come back and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper if you want to. And to make things more interesting, each time you spawn into a delve, there are multiple monster modifiers that spawn as well. Things like magical barriers, increased damage to players, and health regeneration. And all of these things stack together to make the content more difficult. I've seen upwards of 6 at a time so far. I'm not that deep, but that's what I've seen. I'm only imagining how many modifiers are on a 110 or over that, because I was on 11, 12, 15, 20, and they just keep getting added and added. So the thing that I'm most excited about this whole thing, right, is we finally have some decent endgame party content with delves. You can get together with 8 players, dive into some delves, crush some bosses, and see how far you can get before you hit that wall and need to exit and go back and tweak your gear, maybe even change your class. So getting into these delves is actually pretty simple. They added a new portal in the hub world, and when you go interact with it, it queues you up. And you can queue up solo, you can queue up in a party, it does not matter at all. And once you queue up solo, it should put you into a party with people around your delve level as well, so you shouldn't get anything that's way out of your league or impossible to finish because you're all grouped around that same difficulty level. Now, if you do want to hit up like ladders or leaderboards, then challenge devs will be the ones you want to work towards. These are weekly delves that put all players on an equal playing field with the same modifiers, the same enemies, and the same settings. And the goal here is to have the fastest time and see how deep you can go to work your way up the leaderboard and ladder for rewards and things like that. There is also a private delve that you can build yourself and then put in your house, and you can set the rules and parameters so your group can actually party up and you can go set all the settings you want and then dive in and have a good time. You don't have to wait for queues to pop, or you don't have to party up with randos. You can just do your own thing and get as far as you possibly can in delve. So all in all, guys, I've sunk about 20 hours into Delve content so far, and it's pretty fun. I've had a pretty good time with it. One, I've just been catching up on everything that Trove has added, but two, the Delve things, pretty decent. But there are a few things that I would change about it. I mean, like having a wider variety of objectives to complete, because right now, the ones that I've ran into are all kill X amount of enemies or clear X amount of rooms, and they all function the same way. You're killing stuff. And while that's great, I think something like maybe one person in your group, or maybe you have to carry a bomb or a drill to a location to give some additional gameplay complexity, and it would change things up for party members, and I think it'd be a welcome addition. Objectives are pretty fluid, and you can do quite a bit with them. So before I wrap this one up, I do want to hear from you guys. One, have you guys played Trove ever? Two, are you guys interested in playing Trove? It's very much a hit or miss thing for me personally. Like I said, I first tried it. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but after they've added so many things to it, this new kind of content patch came to it, and while this is a sponsored post, I did have a good time actually playing it, and it was just fun to kind of kick back and chill a little bit. Some of the games that I play are so kind of intense that you're drawn in, you constantly are focusing on things, you can just be drained at the end of it. This is just lighthearted. It's quick to pick up, it's fun, and it's fun to party up and play with other people. So I do want to hear from you guys. Let's get to talking downstairs about Trove and the new Delves update. What do you guys think about it? And if you guys are interested in trying out Trove, there's a link in the description that'll take you to a webpage with everything you need to know about Trove and the new Delves update. As always, thank you very much for the support. I really appreciate it. You guys have no idea. This has been Vulkan. I'll talk to you guys next time.